Today, we're going to tackle a really simple question. What is narcissism? I'm just kidding. It's really not simple at all, actually. We are going to delve into it a bit today, but this is a pretty big topic, and there are a lot of opinions out there about this. What you're going to hear today is really just my take on what I mean when I say someone is narcissistic. Today, on Waking Up from Narc Abuse, what does narcissism even mean? Welcome to Waking Up from Narc Abuse, a micro podcast by Alana Sanborn. This is a micro podcast. It's meant to start your thoughts flowing. It's meant to be the beginning of a conversation, a dialogue, not a monologue. Because we're talking about something that's pretty heavy, my hope is that shorter episodes that are easier to digest will help you without overwhelming you. And here is today's show. So, what is narcissism? This is a word that gets thrown around so much, right? And a lot of people are actually pretty annoyed with it because it seems like it's just this trendy thing to call someone a narcissist. My perspective is a little different on it, and I'll just kind of lay that out a little bit for you here. I believe it is a trend. Yes, it's definitely a trendy thing in the past few years to talk about people being narcissists. And I'm sure it gets thrown around too much and used lightly when it shouldn't be. And I believe there's a reason why something becomes a trend and you start to see it everywhere, hear it everywhere. It's because there's something that we need to look at in our culture, something that needs to be brought more into the light. So the term narcissist or narcissism is trendy, yes, and very valid. There are so many folks out there really showing these qualities, and some very, very famous people that I shall not name in this moment who show these qualities that are making us have to look at this deeply as a culture. So trend isn't a bad thing in my mind. Trend is giving us language for something that we maybe couldn't articulate very clearly before, and giving us a way to understand each other and a way to protect ourselves in this case from those who could cause us harm. People talk about narcissists or people being narcissistic or narcissism. I try to say people have narcissistic tendencies. But that does get a little bit lengthy to say and to write. So sometimes I just go with narcissism or narc abuse or something that's easier, some shorthand. But that brings me to my first point, which is really that the word narcissism or narcissist or narcissistic is shorthand. That's kind of how I use it. It's a catch-all term. It includes a lot of different things. Yeah, and I want to reiterate that this is just my opinion. This is how I use the words and how I approach it in my practice with my clients. To me, a narcissist is someone who has some common symptoms that I see quite a bit, and also it exists on a spectrum. I put together a list of some qualities and behaviors that I commonly see in people who are narcissistic, and I'm going to read those through for you. It's not a complete list, but it's got a lot of the important things in it that I think are good to look out for. As I'm reading through this, I recommend if someone pops up in your mind that you recognize in this list, that you think about this a little bit. This might be good information for you. Here we go. They lack self-awareness and insight. They're not accountable for their actions. They place all the blame externally. Emotionally immature. Lie about big and small things. They have double standards, hypocrisy. Something's okay for them, but not for you. Something's okay for you, but not for them. They're often charming in the beginning. They might hold positions of power or be popular in the community in some way, usually superficially. They have very few close friends or none at all. Sometimes they have histories of troubled family situations. They're infatuated with superficial things like their image, their looks, money, house, status. They're good at getting you to share your deepest thoughts and fears and experiences. And then they're really good at turning all of those against you. So that's my short list. It's not complete, but those are some of the things that if I notice, I will typically be able to see someone as a narcissist. Now, I would tend to call these narcissistic tendencies. We're not diagnosing anyone with a personality disorder, and it should be known narcissism is not a personality disorder or a diagnosis of any kind, actually. It's a trait. And you might see it in a lot of people around you because, like I've said earlier, I think it exists on a spectrum. In fact, we all have narcissistic traits. We would have to have some in order to survive as humans. While we all have these traits to some degree, we are not necessarily all narcissists. The problem happens when someone isn't able to think beyond these traits, and they use flawed thinking and belief systems in order to make decisions like how they're going to treat other people. Narcissists tend to have a deep well of insecurity inside them, and they are constantly trying to fill it up with whatever you have. There is an emptiness there that is pathological and problematic. It colors everything they do and say. In another podcast, I'll go into more about the narcissist motivation. I also plan to cover the differences between narcissistic people, certain personality disorders, psychopaths, and sociopaths. There's a lot more to explore there. But for now, that's it for today. Good luck out there, y'all. And as always, take care of yourself.